The story of Jujutsu Kaisen is just tragic. Characters who once had loving families watched them get ended in front of their eyes, while others actually were the ones to end their families' lives. It's featured people who were born crippled and who wanted nothing more to be with their friends, betraying those same friends. It's featured characters who were literally possessed and forced to destroy thousands of innocent bystanders. And it's even featured someone who was once the hero witnessing an incident so tragic that they literally turned racist. But why is Jujutsu Kaisen so tragic? Well, maybe it's because Gege hates his characters, or maybe he just hates his readers because he is not afraid to destroy the lives of fan favorite characters. However, even amongst all these tragic stories, there are some that are just plain worse than others. And one of these cases is everyone's favorite boy, Junpei.
最悪の酔っ払いだ。
Junpei in most aspects was just a regular high schooler, except for the fact that he lived an absolute horrid life. Up to the age of 17, Junpei was a loner, had watched his parents get divorced, and was bullied to the point where he was burned with cigarettes. Junpei's life was so bad and he was so lonely that as he went through high school, initially the only quote friend he made was a curse named Maito, whose only purpose of befriending Junpei was to literally use him for entertainment.
Nay, nay. Come on. Hey, hit it.
And the kind of entertainment Maito wanted was twisted. Because at one point, Maito manipulated Junpei by ending the life of Junpei's mother, lied to Junpei that his bullies had committed the act, and then gave Junpei the powers to seek revenge. And it didn't stop there, because once Maito had gotten tired of Junpei and no longer saw him as useful, Maito used his powers to end Junpei, turning him into a deformed monster. Junpei's life ended in the same way that most of his high school life had gone, being controlled and bullied by someone stronger than him. However, while Junpei's life was pretty bad, at least until the end, he was relatively a physically healthy and able individual. But the same thing can't be said about Kokichi Muta. Kokichi Muta, or as most people know him as Mechamaru, was physically crippled from birth. As a newborn baby, Mechamaru was born with a heavenly restriction where his entire body was disfigured and hypersensitive. His body was so messed up that most of his limbs were useless, he had no feeling below the waist, he constantly felt like he was being poked by needles, and his skin was so sensitive that he couldn't even let moonlight touch it. For all of his life, Mechamaru had been left in a basement, stuck in a tub, and forever plugged up with medical tubes. The only upside to his situation was that because of his heavenly restriction, his incredibly messed up body allowed Mechamaru to be able to output curse energy way past his natural limit, and his curse technique was able to have extreme range. However, to Mechamaru, he never considered this as an upside because according to him, in a heartbeat, he would exchange all his powers for a healthy body. To Mechamaru, his dream had always been to be able to walk in the sun carefree, specifically with his Kyoto Jujutsu High classmates.
Woohoo! The smiling friends are back!
This was because in Mechamaru's tragic life, the only moments where he had a semblance of normalcy was when as a robot, he had been able to remotely be with his classmates. Because of this, Mechamaru grew to care a lot for some of his classmates, and he would do anything he could to achieve his dream of being able to walk in the sun with them. Even to the point where to achieve this, he actually betrayed those same classmates. He did this by striking a bargain with enemies of Jujutsu High, where in exchange for becoming an informant for them, they would fix his broken body. And this bargain actually came through for Mechamaru as he was able to have a fully normal body for the first time in his life. But of course, he didn't get to really enjoy this, because in order to fix his betrayal and attempt to protect his classmates, Mechamaru had a massive mecha battle with the same people he had made the bargain with. And in accordance with his tragic life, Mechamaru couldn't win. Mechamaru was never able to achieve his dream, which was the same case for another beloved Jujutsu sorcerer. For Kento Nanami, he was just a man who wanted to peacefully retire. However, tragically, he was never able to achieve this. From his teenage years, Nanami had been a Jujutsu High sorcerer, but like his colleagues, faced the tragedies of losing close friends and classmates in dangerous missions. Because of this, Nanami grew tired of the sorcerer's life and quit to try and live a regular life as an office worker. However, this normal life ended up leaving Nanami with an empty feeling, and he realized he could do much more as a sorcerer. Because of this, Nanami became a sorcerer again and became an important mentor to young sorcerers like Yuji.
Get him up, let him get up, let him get up, let him get up. Fight back! Fight back!
But even as he returned as a sorcerer, Nanami's ultimate goal was always to one day peacefully retire to Malaysia, where he would no longer be needed. However, Nanami was never meant to achieve this because during the Shibuya incident, he was brutally ended in front of one of his students, Yuji. Nanami, who was beloved and any working person could relate to his dream of peaceful retirement, was tragically never able to achieve his dream. Which was the same case for one of Nanami's classmates, Suguru Geto. Geto in his adult life was extremely powerful, charismatic, and a full-on racist. Any person that was a non-sorcerer, he basically saw them as lesser, openly calling them monkeys. However, this wasn't always the case because as a teenager, Geto's outlook on non-sorcerers was the complete opposite of this. As a teenager, Geto was undoubtedly one of the strongest sorcerers in the world, but even with this immense power, he had a firm belief that this strength came with a strong responsibility. This responsibility was that those who were stronger had a duty to protect the weaker in society, which included non-sorcerers. However, as Geto got older, he started to grow disillusioned with his beliefs. This was because while he had witnessed so many of his friends and classmates die for the protection of these non-sorcerers, it seemed like many of them didn't care or even outright hated or wanted sorcerers to be ended. Because of this, Geto started to feel increasingly more jaded and isolated, and one day, when he found two sorcerers chained and being abused by a group of villagers, he snapped and utterly destroyed the entire village. The same Geto who had been so adamant on protecting non-sorcerers had tragically turned into a non-sorcerer ending psychopath. Because of all this, Geto left Jujutsu High and created a cult, left behind his best friend Gojo, and even planned a massive battle that's eventual intention was to eliminate all non-sorcerers from the face of the planet. However, in the end of this battle, Geto was ultimately defeated and had his life ended by his best friend Gojo. However, to add insult to injury, Geto couldn't even pass away in peace because his corpse was found and taken over by an evil sorcerer named Kenjaku. And Kenjaku continued to use Geto's body to harm the lives of people that Geto had once cherished. Geto, even after death, was stuck in a tragedy. However, while Geto's body was being controlled against his will to harm his loved ones, doing that isn't as bad as Maki Zenin, who while in full control of her body, ended the lives of basically her entire family.
見下されてた私が大物術師になってみろ。家の連中、どんな面すっかな。楽しみだ。
Now sure, Maki obliterating most of her family is tragic, but honestly, the real tragedy is the life she had to survive before all that. This is because Maki was born into the Zenin clan, which was a very traditional Jujutsu family that believed strong curse techniques were above everything else. This ideal, alongside their extreme conservative attitudes toward women, put Maki in an uphill situation since birth. This was because Maki wasn't only a woman, God forbid, but also had so little cursed energy that she couldn't even see cursed spirits. Because of this, from a young age, she was mistreated, belittled, and handicapped by her very own family. And Maki wanted nothing more than to become strong enough to make her family face the consequences of their actions, even leaving behind her beloved sister Mai to achieve her goal. And Maki surprisingly was able to achieve her goal, just probably not in the way she thought. Because one day, when Maki went to get weapons from the Zenin clan storage, she was confronted by her father, who had already beaten Mai within an inch of her life. And Maki's father then proceeded to make it a family outing and also beat Maki down. And the reason why he did this? It was literally because he saw the both of them as complete failures and believed his daughter's deaths would increase his own reputation and credibility in the clan. And after his father of the year beating of his kids, Maki's dad dragged his two children to a pit to be eaten by a group of ravenous cursed spirits. However, Mai, in a final act of love for Maki, sacrificed herself using her curse technique to impart all her cursed energy into a sword for Maki. By Mai doing this, she also unlocked Maki's full potential, and Maki was able to gain superhuman physical abilities. With this newly unlocked power, Maki then went on to decimate basically the entire Zenin clan. However, even though Maki's upbringing and her dealings with her family are extremely tragic, it doesn't compare to the story of Yuji Itadori. For Yuji, his life was tragic, but it was mainly due to one person, Sukuna. Even from before birth, Yuji's life was intertwined with Sukuna because he was created with the express purpose of becoming Sukuna's vessel. And while Yuji might have seen some tragedy that wasn't really directly caused by Sukuna, like his grandpa's passing and the ending of Junpei, most of the tragedy he went through was either directly or indirectly because of Sukuna. And this was 100% seen in the Shibuya incident. Through a series of events, Sukuna for a short time was able to have full control of Yuji's body. During this time, Sukuna basically leveled Shibuya, and while doing this, took the lives of countless innocent people. When Yuji was able to take back control of his body, he realized what Sukuna had done, and for basically the rest of the series, had to live with the guilt of it. And if this wasn't enough, Yuji had to also witness the deaths of his close mentor Nanami and one of his closest friends Nobara, the latter of which actually broke Yuji to the point where he actually gave up on life. And it didn't stop there, because throughout the rest of the story, Yuji had to constantly deal with Sukuna messing with him physically, mentally, and emotionally, by not only messing with Yuji himself, but everyone around him. Because at one point, Sukuna even possessed Yuji's best friend Megumi, which Yuji blamed himself for, and Sukuna went on to almost enslave the entire world. While there can be an argument that other people in Jujutsu Kaisen had more tragic one-off moments, no one in Jujutsu Kaisen has had a more tragic overall story than Yuji.
Excuse me, can I get a picture with you?
No.
I love you.
Okay.
I love you.
Can you leave us alone?
No, you don't understand. I love you. No, you don't get it.
No,
I
please.
love you. I love you. No,
Stop.
please. I know you don't
Please,
understand.
sir.
I love
No,
you. No, I
stop.
really, really
Stop.
love you.
Stop it.